I got a question for everybody watching this video. What are the top 5 areas the Lions must target to improve the team in this offseason? Let's consider free agency. Let's consider the draft. We're going to use both of those metrics to upgrade the Detroit Lions. I think we all agree they're potentially a playoff team in 2023. So what can we do to help this team grow and push into the playoffs, maybe even win a game? Let's dive into all that and maybe just a little bit more in today's Friday's edition of Lions Talk Live. Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for tuning in this Friday to Lions Talk Live. Also, I want to give thanks to everybody helping us reach over 2,100 subscribers. You know, it was just a few months ago that we started this channel, and the response, the feedback, the interactions have been great. So I do want to say thank you all. Now, let's get into the topic about the video today, and that is, how do we view the viewers out there to best upgrade this team? Let's go through our top 5 options, and there's no wrong ones, so throw away in the comments below what you think are the 5 areas of biggest needs. I'm going to throw out mine and try to give you some wisdom or at least my opinion on why I think these are the 5 areas we must upgrade. But don't be afraid to respond. Tell me if my things are wrong. Tell me what you think, because, you know, if we all have a good conversation together, maybe we uncover the truth. So let's dive in with mine. We're going to work our way from 5 up to 1. All right, probably not going to be a big surprise here at number 5. I'm going to start off with defensive tackle. Yes, Isaiah Buggs is good. Yes, Aleem McNeill is good. Both of them really help out along with some of our other depth to give us solid base and play at the defensive tackle. But I think everybody who's watched the Detroit Lions defense understands one thing. While our defensive tackles are great at stuffing the run and eating up space, we don't really get any pass rush out of them. On obvious passing downs, we go to basically the NASCAR package, as the coaches like to dub it, and that it has been highly effective. But in order for this defense to go up a level, I think Lions really need to find somebody who can play, multiple downs, not just obvious run downs for the Detroit Lions defense. So in my opinion, number 5 is easily going to be defensive tackle. Do we address it in free agency? Do we address it in the draft? The chances of Jalen Carter being there at number 6 are probably remote, as more and more mocks have him going either number 1 or number 3 to the Chicago Bears. So yes, we did mock the Chicago Bears in our very first mock draft, taking Carter at number 1, but it seems like a certainty he won't be there at number 6. All right, number 4 for me is also going to be on the defensive side of the ball, and it's going to be the secondary. Let's start with this. I'm not going to break it down from corners to safeties, but I'm going to say this. It is my opinion the Lions are going to have a hole at safety. Some of that's because of Walker. Some of that's because of Elliott. Whether or not Elliott's re-signed, we'll wait and see. Whether or not, Tracy Walker's going to return from his Achilles tear and really be a great player until later in the season, that's asking a lot. But here's what I'm going to say. And if you watch Lions Talk for a while, you've heard me say this before. It's my personal opinion. The Lions' future revolves around Jeff Okudah not playing corner, playing safety. You think about the strengths of him this season, the Dallas game and some of the games afterwards. They were bringing him up in the line of scrimmage to help shut down runs, and he's highly effective at it. He's highly effective going one direction. And not that he's bad in pass coverage, but his strengths seem to fit, in my opinion, that of a safety. And he can lay down some lumber on people coming downhill and hitting them. So, my opinion, the Lions really do need to consider moving him to safety and addressing cornerback either in free agency along with the draft. Let's keep talking about this while we got the secondary up. I think if you can move him back there with Kirby Joseph, you've got a lot of range capability from these two young men. They both move laterally incredibly well. They both have very good speed. In fact, Okudah's speed is, I think, sometimes not talked about enough. This kid can run. He can go. It's just, unfortunately, he's, as we all know, had an injury history his first 3 years in the league. Yes, he did kind of tail off towards the end of this past season, but you know what? Having done what he did, coming back from that Achilles injury, playing throughout the season, I think his better days could be had at safety. Now, with cornerback, Is this something we address at number 6 or more likely number 18? There are a number of tall, highly fast, and physical cornerbacks available in this year's draft. In fact, if you watched my mock drafts or other people's mock drafts, you'll see there's a lot of corners available with sub 4.4 speed or 6'1", 6'2", and great arm length, great first steps. If it was me drafting, would I try to trade down so we could have 2 or 3 picks in the first round and snag 2 corners plus maybe a linebacker? Yes, it would. And you think about this, how much man-to-man coverage we play. Are you really asking a whole lot different out of Okudah playing man-to-man on somebody as a safety versus a corner? No, it's just he's going to snag the number 3 or 4 guy in the routes, not number 1. Probably also not another big surprise to anybody watching this. Number 3 on the depth chart for me is going to be that of linebacker. While, hey, Anzalone did, I think, better than most people expected this past season. Would anybody call him elite? Would anybody call him game changer? Probably not. While we can also say Malcolm Rodriguez, for a rookie, let's not even worry about where he got drafted. Just for a rookie, I'd say, yeah, he did very, very well. And James Houston, like we've talked about before on Lions Talk Live, he's been moved. If you saw as the season progressed and he started getting more and more reps, they stopped using him as basically a defensive end and moving him to linebacker. In fact, the last game of the season at Green Bay, he started at outside linebacker, even dropped into coverage, moved around quite a bit. They kept him roaming, and I will say this, the future of James Houston in the linebacking core makes a lot of sense, especially when you consider what we've drafted up front and what our needs are at the second level. So, with that being said, Anzalone, I do not feel will be coming back. So do you, the viewers, think we should use draft capital on replacing some linebackers, or do we go ahead and get something in free agency? In free agency is your selection. Who do we target? Sticking out with linebackers for a moment, I know some of the obvious choices are going to be Simpson or Campbell. Both of them would be achievable at number 18 or early in the second round, or even maybe in the mid part of the second round. Both of them would also probably provide significant upgrades. Again, nothing against what we had last year, but, Derek Barnes is a little bit of a question mark at this point. He had some flashes, I think we would all agree, last year. It just wasn't consistent enough probably to want to bet the farm that this kid is going to continue to grow. So, Rodriguez appears to be somebody that the Lions are going to have to move around. Do you move him to middle linebacker? That's a question I would pose. Do you move him to middle, keep Houston on the outside, and then just replace one linebacker? I just don't see Romeo Okwara doing that. I think he's got to be up front if he's not a cap casualty this offseason. Let me know your thoughts on what you feel we should do with linebackers in the comment section below. Number 2 is probably going to be a little bit of a surprise to people, but you're going to have to listen to me and hear me out. I think the number 2 thing for the Lions to improve this offseason is going to be the offensive line. We've clearly demonstrated this as a strength of our team, but let's start paying attention to a few things as well. Frank Ragnow has been a real warrior, but for 2 years now, he's struggled with that foot injury. He hasn't been able to practice much. He's done everything he could to gut it out for the team and be available on game days. And to his credit, he has been. But it's also 2 straight seasons where that foot has given him significant issues. And usually, I like to refer to something Bill Parcells once said. Once the tread comes off the tire, it doesn't come back. So in my opinion, based on that comment or, just having coached forever, once a player starts showing real wear on an item on their body, it's not going to get better. Surgeries can help alleviate some things, but as we all get older, even surgically repaired things start showing signs of wear more and more. Ragnow is not old, but he is also getting to the point where he's kind of mid-age. If those injuries keep sticking around, how much does that change that offensive line? Also, Taylor Decker is now getting closer to 30. And unfortunately, most athletes, when they get around that age, start showing signs of wear. So let me keep going into this about the offensive line. My opinion, right guard, yes, needs to be addressed. Yes, we talked about Frank Ragnow, and yes, we talked about Decker. But what can we do to keep this being for strength for the team for the next 3 to 5 years? Because let's be fair, as long as Goff is going to be under center for us, and every reason he should be. I mean, he's proven himself last year to be a great player for us. So with that being said, we have to say, what do we have to invest to keep this line steady where it is, maybe even slightly improving. We don't want to see it starting to come down where it's now not as good as it once was. Goff's getting killed. The running game is regressing in part because of that. So in my opinion, either through the draft or free agency, I would like to see the Lions add some solid young depth to it to improve some one starting spot while getting ready for inevitably what happens to all athletes. All athletes eventually do show decline. All right, and the number one spot, I'm going to say we need to really address this offseason. In my opinion, this will probably be a shock to some people, but here it is, the backup quarterback position. It's nothing against Nate Sudfeld, but I really rather never see him take meaningful snaps under center for us. Goff was healthy his first year here, other than he had some slight injury against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh that did keep him out the following week. And then obviously last year, he went the entire season without any issues. But let's also be fair. The chances of that happening 3 straight years are rare. The other part is, at some point, Goff's contract, while we still have time on it, is going to come up. And the ultimate decision is going to have to be made. How much do we believe in Goff when that contract gets towards its end? Do we really want to raise him to a 30 to 40 million a year quarterback? Or are we going to have somebody ready to take over and replace him? And that's why I put this at number 1. What are we doing to help ensure that if he does go down with injury, or when the day comes about that contract, that at least we have something in place that's going to allow the team to keep going forward, even if it's not at quite the same pace Goff is currently providing. So you guys let me know in the comment sections below what your thoughts are. I'm trying to give you some content today. Yes, it's the off season. Things are slower. I don't know about you guys, but I watch around on other channels and, other articles, and I get everybody's kind of regurgitating the same stuff. And a lot of it to me is, hey, they have jobs. They've got families to feed. They got to put out something. And I'd rather not talk about, Tom Brady coming to Detroit, because I've seen everybody talk about that. Hey, Tom Brady comes to Detroit, well, that means Goff's out and probably got traded. I don't foresee that happening. As far as the other news of the day, there just really isn't that much. So I wanted to at least throw something at you guys to get us all thinking, getting us looking at our rosters like a general manager would and say, hey, here's what we need to achieve in the next 2.5 to 3 months. What do we have to do to make that happen? So there's no right or wrong answers here. Be respectful of each other. Leave their thoughts in the comment section below. And once again, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, hope you do consider doing so. Other than that, enjoy your Fridays, and I'll see you all tomorrow on another Lions Talk Live.